really know that. So ZvT, awesome. Diamond1, congrats on winning the tournament a while back. Was it the Proxy Tournament, Proxy Tempest Tournament of Champions or something? Or
person that got first gave me the coaching because he had climbed into Masters 2 right before the tournament happened. So I was the Diamond winner, if you will.
Cool.
So, but yeah, I got second. It was a fun tournament. I had a good time playing it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it adds so much. It adds so much just to the experience of StarCraft playing online cups, man. It's so much fun. Get that adrenaline really pumping. People talk about ladder anxiety. Ha!
Oh, baby.
Wait till you play tournaments. Awesome. All right, so you've already got your mate in here. Should we just dive? Should you just host into a game? We'll kind of dive in, and then we can kind of get into the analytical stuff after this map. I don't believe I've sent you a Google Drive at any point in our email correspondence, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Make sure you just type your Gmail in Discord just so I can share editing privileges. And I will write notes here while we go. So the best way to get the maximum value out of a coaching sesh is, especially if we're doing it, sometimes we like you've got really specific questions and we have like a list of replays you just want to go over, right? You can steer the coaching. But for this one where it's more like, okay, let's just hop in, let's work on ZvT in general, try and figure that out. Sure. We will obviously talk between the games, but we're not going to talk about every little detail. I am going to notice a lot of little things you could change, which could give you a percent here, a percent bonus here to your play, right? But that's not something which I'm going to tell you between games, because if you lose a game, there's going to be one thing which will give you a 20% boost if we get that one focus down, right? Mm-hmm. If I tell you 25 different things that'll each give you a 1% thing, there's no way you're going to put those into action, right? So I want to keep you focused on like one or two important things. And afterwards, though, you can rewatch the replays that you played today while reading through all these notes in this Google Drive file. And you can kind of be like, oh, cool, I can work on these couple of points. And then you can, you know, okay, I'll work on those points next week and those points the week after that, or however you want to pass it up, right? Just kind of gives you the ability to focus on things one at a time. All right, so I'm just going to make this Rushi coaching. I'm going to share that with you. So before we start the game, we'll just make sure you can type in there and everything. I'll link it to you in a sec.
Sweet.
Yep, it's popped up with your name. So that should work. A link to you on Discord. Beautiful. So live coaching template. Let me just grab the most important info. A couple of mechanical questions real quick. You are, of course, the Zerg. Do you use camera locations?
I do not.
Okay, no camera locations. How do you inject?
Base hotkey, sorry.
Okay. Do
base
you spam,
hotkey,
do you spam that?
in.
Or do you just kind of go, okay. Base cam for injecting. Methodical, not spammy. Cool. This just helps me kind of understand what I'm looking at in your play. Do we hotkey creep queens? Creep/defense queens?
Not consistently, but I try to.
All right, that's a big one for ZvT if we're playing a Ling Bane style. So that's definitely going to be one which, like the other ones, like learning camera locations, changing inject method, these are options which can maybe give you a 0.5% boost across every game for the rest of your career. But an initial 2 weeks of, I can't fucking play the game because this is such a fundamental mechanic. So it's real, you know, invest in loss for the long term. I'm never going to pressure you to do that. It's just something I want to be aware of how you're doing it. So I kind of know what's happening. Sure. We're control grouping eggs, right? We're not F2ing constantly?
Correct.
Yes. Thank God. Control groups. Do you F2 ever?
Very rarely. There's occasions where I will, like if I feel like I've bungled my hotkeys, I'll just hotkey everything into one group and then I'll sort them from there, but I never do it as a means of attacking.
Awesome. By the way, can you just test that you can write in that document? I've linked it to you on Discord, so get that open. That way you can kind of follow along, and if we're having a long chat between games, it can be helpful to kind of hop out and read over some of the notes while we go. And you also get a good idea from these notes of kind of how I structure my learning. So can you fill out the info at the top there? Time zone, city, in-game name, etc. And I'll just keep that at the top so I can quickly, whenever we start a session, kind of go, okay, cool, and I can just check what time zone that is. Central US, easy, cool. In-game name, yeah, awesome. And your Discord as well. A lot of people have different Discords, and sometimes they're just kind of sitting there and they're like, cool, Pig's gonna message me soon. I'm like searching their name, and if I don't have their name in the document, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm searching the wrong name. I don't know. Yeah. Awesome. That's cool, dude. So ZvT, okay. So your style, composition. Are we doing Hydraling Bane? What are we doing?
I like Hydraling Bane. Admittedly, I'm just really bad at the matchup. I've got like a 20% win rate right now. A lot of it is I feel I can, if I get out of the first 7 minutes, it's getting into the late game. I used to do a lot of Hydraling Bane. After the Hydra nerf, I got some suggestions to try and eliminate using Hydras and just going straight into like Ultras, get a Spire, and then go Greater Spire into Broodlords. So, okay.
I think
it's something that worked. It worked for a little while, but I'm starting to notice it falls off a little bit. I don't know if it's my bad control or if it's a bad build.
I think definitely having some good mid-game strength is good. So I do like either Lingbane, Muta, / Corruptors if you really want. Some people like that. Or Lingbane Hydra, and I think they're both totally fine. The Hydra's damage was nerfed, but the Hydras were always more of a supporting unit that kind of creates problems for the Terran. You're mostly playing Lingbane, right? It's some Hydras to clean up Metavacs, to outrange Widow Mines, and basically make Widow Mine styles kind of poor. And I think it's still pretty powerful. So I think, honestly, the important thing here is to just choose a style you think is fun, something that motivates you. It can be Mutiling Bane. It can be Hydraling Bane. It can be a Roach Ravager style. But we need to have that clear direction before we even start playing, or the games are going to kind of waste our time. So choose a style that excites you. Don't base it off your past experiences with the style so much as what you want to play. What do you see yourself playing? What inspires you? Is there a pro gamer you follow? Maybe you want to play the way you've seen them smashing it lately. What inspires you?
I really like Hydraling Bane. So I'm happy working on a composition that would fit around that.
Let's stick with it then. I like Hydraling Bane as well. It's a good style. Into Broodlords, yeah. We'll try to do as the default because they're just such a good difficulty, right? The Broodlords just pose a problem for Terran. And when we do get Broodlords, you always, of course, want to pull every queen into your army for those transfuses. Broodlords, I would say, become like triple the problem if they've got like 5 queens underneath them, transfusing them. Awesome. Cool. Let's just play it. Let's see how you go. Let's just get into a game. I'm going to figure out what you're doing. I'm going to see what happens, see what we can focus on, see if we need to totally revamp your opening or whatever. So just get in your groove. If you fuck up, just try to roll with the punches. ZvT can be a bit of a scrappy matchup. And let's do it.
Awesome.
All right. Good luck. Have fun. Thanks for helping Zach mute / pause streams if still open. No cheating lulls.
So this is actually really good. Zach and I are actually IRL friends. He's living in our house right now, so he is right downstairs, which is kind of
cool. Fantastic. Well, that's easy. So if he beats you like 4 times in a row, you get to like tackle him later, or I don't know, put a couple of smelly socks in his pillowcase or something like that.
Yes, there we go.
All right, man. Get in your groove. Show us what you got. Kairos Junction. Good, straightforward map. Some good areas for tanks to push us, but let's try and push that creep out. And of course, with this style, creep is really important. So the only thing I'm going to say is just try to visualize where you want that 4th base to be. Are we going to take it on the top, or are we going to take it kind of to the bottom side of the map?
I like the bottom side, personally.
No worries. All right, let's really focus our creep spread, getting it out in front of that 4th base then. Good luck, have fun. Let's kick some ass.
Thanks.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We are, of course, beginning a little bit of coaching here. Welcome, guys. We are starting a little bit of coaching here. Just going to make a mark for YouTube. So, coaching Diamond1 ZvT. There we go. Fantastic. All right. What's up, dudes? We are diving into some Diamond1 ZvT coaching. We've just had a little preliminary chat with the student, Rushi here, whose camera view we will be watching from, is a fan of Hydraling Bane, but has a 26% win rate right now. 26% in the matchup. Oh. So that's fantastic. Why is that so good? Because it just means there's so much we can do here. And we need to focus on really not expecting perfect play. Just being focused on generally the correct things should drag Rushi or Rushi's play way up. Just by getting him focused on kind of the correct thrust of things. So I'm going to be trying to rein in my own hyper detail oriented kind of anal, like, do this. And we're going to just try to focus on the big picture and getting a solid set of notes down throughout these games. Yeah, a lot of people really struggle in this matchup, and the reason is usually they can't keep up with the fast-paced nature of it. They lose momentum. They're not setting themselves up early to not lose momentum through basic things. So, expected issues. Writing before game really gets going, because I've been coaching some ZvT. OV positioning, ring of vision, outside, third natural to see Hellion rotations, allows queens to be in position. Queens need defense. Queens need to always be on a control group for easy defense and creep spread. Cue your queens away from the edge of creep after replacing lost tumors. Danger zone. Danger zone is out there where they can get sniped. And if we lose our queens, it takes forever to get our creep restarted. Hey, your base is under attack. It's a trap. Focus on winning games through creep spread, map control, and infesting the entire map rather than headbutting into defensive positions. Incorrect drone time. Yeah, not droning hard enough is the other thing which often pops up. And so far we can see there's only 2 queens, no third queen started, and we're only on 28 workers with 500 minerals. So this is a good example of one of those games. So third hatch has started nice at a good time. I do like the third hatch timing, that's pretty solid. Problem is we just don't have enough queens. These queens are starting really late. Because our opponent, I believe, has gone gas first here. Yeah, this is a gas first opening. So he's getting Hellions out pretty fast, and we're in trouble. Okay, so now let's get the actual notes on this game. Third queen needs to be faster. Might not get punished versus Rax Gas, but versus Gas first, like this game, you will get punished. As 4 Hellions and a Reaper wreck a queen. So, try to go. What are we going to do? Normally you'd go something like 31 third base, 30 third queen, 32 overlord. And note, you might hit a slight supply block, have a few extra lava for a bit, but you will get on top of your spending quickly. Okay. So, notice how there's no overlord up here? That's a pretty good overlord, though it's a bit far out. If your opponent goes Vikings, these overlords are too far out. But I don't mind. I'd rather further out than too close. But there should be, like, this overlord is just sitting there. It needs to be, like, out here to really see, or there. So, overlord is missing. Overlord missing above third base. Late warning of Hellion rotations. Other overlords are a bit far out. Viking gets many free kills. Whereas if they're edged out as you spread creep a bit, you can usually save them or only lose 1 overlord to the Viking, not 3 to 4, which is what is happening in this game. That Viking is getting big kills. It's already up to its 3rd. It's about to get a 4th, and now a lib comes in. Yeah. Let's add another sub point on that overlords. Also need 2 OVs on the edges. Looking for Liberator / Banshee. Our forces are under attack. You add these after the initial Ring of Vision. So he's got a Roach Roar in here. But I thought we were playing Hydra Bane. If you're playing Hydra Bane, you should never really need a Roach Warren. So a little bit awkward, and yeah, his economy is pretty shitty. So not having an Overlord there, that's why he hasn't had a lot of time to prepare. He's got a 4th hatch down at a good timing, but he's so far behind in economy. He needs to be droning like crazy right now. And he's going straight into range upgrades. So I'm a little bit confused about what the direction is right now. I'm not sure if he's reacting to the heavy Hellion harassment. He's felt like, oh, I need the roaches. You should never need that. You've got to be reliant on your queens and confident in those queens. You see, now he's going up to 9 queens, but we don't really want to be building queens at this point in the game. Control group of 4 defense queens. That's good. He's used to doing that at least. Main army's on 5, interestingly enough. Fascinating. Whatever he's comfortable with.
A new queen has emerged.
So you took damage early, but you did deflect the pressure, so you should have a lot of urgency behind just overlords and drones. A couple of roaches is not the worst idea, but we really need to be droning like crazy for a minute or so.
We're returning fire.
Got it.
Our drones are under attack.
Yeah, like he just didn't have any urgency on his droning there. I feel like he kind of lost track of where his economy was, and that's something you got to be really wary of. Really wary of. This time he's got more vision. He's not watching his minimap because he's in the chaos. This happens more and more when you're like out of your element. He had like 30 seconds to respond to these Hellions. Oof, that's tough. Oh. He should be droning. 13 drones, 13 drones. Good. 13 drones. Thanks to the support, Dorak. Man, we're getting old. You know it. 22 months, dude. That's almost like that's like a baby that can talk and have tantrums and complain and stuff. This shit is crazy. Is this Rushi Churro? No, it is not. Okay, so we got like this weird little mech pressure coming. Why are we building Zerglings right now? Why do we not have Roach Speed or a Hydra? Why are we building Spine Quills? What is going on? No! He's got a 26% win rate. So you see a lot of just random decisions like this all the time with players when they have a bad win rate. Mechanically, Rushi, I can tell he can play like 1,000 times better than this. He's just like, he's got a ton of lings out and he didn't bring them in with that engage, and he's building more lings rather than roaches after seeing a tank Hellion push like off a mech play. So this is just sloppy play. It's just clearly lacking confidence from past experiences. This happens when you're really getting hammered in a matchup. You start playing worse generally because you're not sure what to focus on, and you start doing a lot of second guessing yourself and just making shit up on the fly. Like building spine crawlers, you should just never be doing. So yeah, this whole scenario here, this was not that scary a push. These tanks didn't even siege in range of anything, but he just kind of freaked out. And he's playing against mech here. So maybe his style changes to Roach Hydra Viper? So we need to ask that question after this. Panicked really hard when we saw the tank Hellion poke. No clear path of tech in this game. Ravager Ling is really random. How do we react to mech? Proxy Battlecruiser. I will hurt your family. They're Ravagers! They're Ravagers! They're not Revengers! They don't revenge things! I hate you. I hate you so much. Sick bastard. Go build some missile turrets in your house, mate. Because I'm gonna come in there, I'm gonna mutilisk harass your family if you keep saying Revenger. I'm gonna mutilisk harass your family! Zavero, thanks for the 4-month resub, dude. Yeah, Zatch got super panicked and excited by that pressure. It should have been like a throwaway pressure, which he doesn't look at, but Zatch was just not spending his money. Deep breath macro. As much as this game got thrown out of your control, Zatch is clearly fucking up. Split units to make sure he can't take all random bases, and get up to your plan for anti-mech. We should be going straight for a Hive, a Vipers, Hydras, double upgrades, Roach Hydra Viper. is what we're going to be doing here. That's how we play against mech, Roach Hydra Viper. So just get your vision up on the map. We need overlords on the edges to see Hellion run-bys. We need a squad of roaches somewhere on the defense to stop Hellion run-bys. So we want to just kind of get up into that big Roach Hydra Viper army, take all the gases, take all the bases, and we've always got a path back into this game. Even when we fuck up this bad, usually we lose because we freak out. You got to remember, if you're freaking out, your opponent's freaking out and panicking just as hard as you are. And he absolutely is. He was floating 3,000 minerals just a minute ago. But you were as well. Whichever one of you just took a deep breath and focused on your macro first could have been infinitely ahead. Instead, this is an evenly matched game right now. Let's smash it.
Ready to raise some hell.
Deep breath, focus on your macro. Still don't have roach speed. Is he gonna realize? Come on, man. So that was... He could actually hear me there, guys. He could hear me there. Upgrades. Roach upgrades, Hydra upgrades. Come on. Queue both Hydra upgrades at once to make sure you don't forget. Good stuff. Let's get those Vipers out. We need a lot of Vipers. We want 4 or 5 Vipers here. We do not want to be A-moving our army across the map. Right now, you need to have some units split to cover the bottom base, like 4 or 5 Roaches, and the rest of your army on the north side, so that Hellion run-bys can't get you. There is no reason to be out in the middle of this map unless we're actually attacking. And we're not going to attack till those Vipers are out. We're only building 2. Let's get more Vipers, and let's build towards that timing. Let's make sure we're solid on the defense. I love we put those Roaches on a different control group. Awesome. This allows us to just shut down these silly Hellion shenanigans. We can wait for these Vipers, suck energy with them, and once they've got energy, we're going to move across this map and punch our Terran opponent in the face repeatedly until he's a bloody sad excuse of a human.
Mutation complete.
Alright, don't get too distracted by these. Basically, you just A-move to where they're going and go back to your macro. Drop down a Spire so we can prepare for the Broodlords. But most importantly, more energy with those Vipers, and then let's move across this map. Yeah, you can kill this base in the meantime. Barely even need to micro it. You can basically just drop Biles. But most importantly, suck energy with those Vipers. Lick the hatchery like a lollipop. And then get them to move across the map with your army. And let's go use either a Mass Blinding Cloud or I prefer Abducts. Your call. Take a big trade and swap into Broodlords behind it. So let's get a Spire started. Take another base. You've already got one. Okay, cool. Get your Vipers up front. Let's see if we can take an efficient trade. And we're going to be doing a big round of drones onto that new base behind it. And Broodlords is the next attack. But wait for the Vipers. Scout ahead. Don't ever headbutt with your army. You always send Overseers ahead. Good stuff. Good luck.
That mineral field's gone. Don't
Channel
spend
picture
all
take up half the screen on follower-only streams. I have no idea what that is, F-Gator. I think you've got a bug on your app or something like that. Alright, I would love to... Oh my god! Vipers first, Vipers first. He can't hear me, guys. He can't hear me. I don't ever try... I try not to tell people how to micro, because that just doesn't work. He's using Blinding Clouds. He needs a Blinding Cloud here. I'm a much bigger fan of a duct and pull out. Oh, and that stutter step forward is the worst thing you can do. That's the that's maximum clumpage, and he headbutts the Vipers to their death as well. That's not how you... Oh, okay, we learned he does not know how to play against mech, I don't think. Never micro forward. Okay, so... Micro versus mech. Vipers are abductors. They have no other use. Tell yourself this. Go forward, Vipers just in front of your A-moved army. Abduct as many tanks as Thors and Thors as you can. Then run away after killing them. Get more energy. Hit again with Broodlords later. Go counterattack. Just send your drones to the south side, take 2 hatches down there, and your army needs to go around the south to counterattack. So this is always something with mech. Always go to cut off reinforcements to counterattack, and never be afraid to give up a base. So let's build like a bunch of overlords, take all the bases in the bottom left-hand side, and send your army across this map. A lot of the time you'll find mech players are a little bit lazy and they've got nothing on their base. Now, you went for the planetary with those lings. You always want to go for their natural against a mech player. You know they got planetaries out there. And if you dive in, there's only 1, 2, 3 tanks. You'll just wreck it. So try to just counterattack with the Roach Hydra. And at home, we're trying to transfer drones down to this bottom left-hand side. And we're going to start those Brood Lords, of course. Whenever you're in doubt in a battle, one of the best instincts you guys can get as a player is run the fuck away and counterattack. If you're ever unsure about engaging, especially for Zerg, just fucking run around. I'm not gonna fight that. Don't fucking never fight your opponent where they want to fight. Is a great motto, but especially for Zerg players.
Our forces are under attack.
Funnily enough, there are no Hellbats in here, so yes, if he had a ton of macro lava and actually had melee upgrades, going lings would not be bad. Also, they've only got 1 armor upgrade, so even without +3 lings, you are correct technically, Twitch chat, on that one. Normally, I'm not a big fan of like the old like let's try and do a ling remax because they got a lot of Thors because like they had like 6 Hellions in the back and your lings are just gonna get roasted. But these counterattacks, imagine if he did this earlier. This is huge. You get on top of that production. Juicy, juicy. Imagine if he had drones here, had that hatch as well. You'd be surprised how much you can come back, even in games where everything's gone to Dicktown, Shit City, Turdsville, and Sewer Mermaid Citadel. Even when everything's gone to all those places, like this sort of counterattack is just brutal. Brutal. But early game, Rushi just got lost. Didn't have a clear direction, was like, I'm gonna go roaches, which doesn't make sense if you're a Hydra Bane player. But I wanna figure out how Rushi plays against mech and what the game plan is. And I mean, if Rushi's confident playing Hydra Bane against mech, we'll just stick with that. But otherwise, we'll go like, okay, no, let's play Roach Hydra versus that. That's fine. Rushi is dead, so we can hop out now.
Your forces are taking damage.
We just obliterated that production. That was great. It is probably game over. So if you want, you can tap out of this one just so we can get more games in today. But I think we saw the power of that counterattack. Like, whenever you feel like you can't fight their army, just kind of hang out on the map and just run around their army, and it can do a lot against mech, especially if I always like to expand down both sides of the map. So then you could have just been like, oh, you siege it up in that base, you just run the drones away, and time is your ally, time is your friend. But overall, some really good shit. You've got some great mechanics with certain things you are doing. What I'm sensing is the biggest thing. It's what you said beforehand. You got a bad win rate in the matchup. You just don't look confident in the matchup. So there's certain moments where you're kind of freezing up or looking just like you're not sure what to do. And those are the moments where suddenly Zatch is getting way ahead of you.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
So lots of great things. We just need kind of a few structural things to tie it all together. So can you make me the party leader, please? And I will post up that replay.
Yes.
Going to talk through a couple of things. Awesome. So first things first. We went a Roach War in that game, even though we're trying to play Hydra Bane. What prompted that? Was that a reaction to something?
To the Hellions coming across. I don't feel comfortable protecting with just queens and lings because I don't feel like I ever build enough queens, which is the answer: build more queens.
Yeah, because we don't want to do both things, right? Because if we're going roaches, we want to stop at 5, at most 6 queens. We don't want to be going like tons of queens and roaches. It just costs too much money. So we ended up struggling a little bit. Small structural changes would have turned this early game from a very close kind of scrappy early game to you taking your mate Zatch and just putting him in the dumpster. Like, you would have got so far ahead off this opening with just a few small changes. And I actually thought your Overlord vision was pretty good, but one of the biggest things is Overlord vision and confidence with your early defense in ZvT. What you did here, where you're going roaches and a ton of queens, because you went up to like 9 or 10 queens. You're doubling down on doing 2 things that kind of respond to the same thing, right? Okay. Tons of this. Every time I have someone who's struggling in ZvT, they get a bit too much trauma from that time when the Hellions run past, your queens aren't in position, you lose 20 workers, and then you're like, I need banelings and roaches and queens and a spine crawler or something, and it's like, well, this is unnecessary. We just need enough queens and lings in the right position at the right time, and we'll be totally fine. But this is something I see, like, this is not just you, this is everyone. I sometimes fall into the trap of it as well, and I go watch my replay, I'm like, wait, I'm doing that thing I coach people not to do. It's this trap we fall into where inevitably after we have a few bad run-ins with something, we tend to overreact to it, which sometimes is good when it allows us to kind of, something like a cannon rush. It's better to pull a few more workers than a few too little, right? We don't want to be like, oh, technically I only need 7. So I'm going to send my 8th drone back to mining or something. It's like, no, just focus on shutting the cannon rush down, right? But with ZvT opening into a macro game, Hellions poking a Liberator come in, this is about as stock standard and economic as a Terran can open. However, first things first, 3rd Queen. We need a 3rd Queen earlier. So, because you've only got 1 Queen up front, it's 4 minutes. He could be here about 10 seconds earlier or even earlier with 4 Hellions and a Reaper. That kicks the shit out of a Queen, and it kicks the shit out of the small number of Lings that you want to have at this point in the game. You need to have at least a 2nd, if not a 3rd Queen out front already, so that you can go toe-to-toe with those Hellions and say, okay, you're going to wear off a lot of my hit points, but you're going to take a lot of damage on those Hellions, and that's going to, weaken you later as well, and I'll eventually get transfused. If you go up against a Barracks Gas, I think you get away with this a little bit more because your opponent's Hellions are about 20 seconds later. Their factories later with Barracks Gas. Your opponent here, Zatch, he went Gas first. So I reckon about half your games, you don't get punished for this. The other half, like this one, right from the get-go, there's Hellions in your face, killing creep tumors, damaging your Queens, causing other small mistakes here and there. Which you did a good job, by the way, of not making too many other small mistakes. But there were a few. The first one being we took forever to just drone up our natural as well. So let's go back a little bit here. And I believe we went creep tumor before inject on our natural. We did. Which makes it even more important to get that 3rd Queen so we can get inject started on that base. Because yeah, because we don't have injects on your natural, you're actually lava starved here. Notice you've got minerals building up. And this is part of your build. And it's just a reason why we want to do that. Yeah. So yeah, we got like a few lava, but like we still got minerals left over always, where it should be the opposite. We should have like always 1 or 2 lava extra, and we're like constantly trying to get them out, get the drones out. So that's a problem. So opening. Let's ride up this change up, and I'll write it up the top here. So I'll kind of write it as like homework almost, because this is going to be a key thing. So the opening, small change. I wrote it down there in the notes. It was, okay, so this is what we're going to do. Let me max screen these notes. Okay, so you see at the top of the notes, 31 3rd base, 30 3rd Queen, 32 Overlord. So basically the idea is, right at this point where we drop this hatch, and I think you do it about 30 supply, somewhere around there. Oh, you actually put it down on 26. Oh, because you're trying to get it down super early. Oh, that's really bad as well, actually. Okay, yeah. Okay. We want to make sure we get those a few more drones out. I know that it can be annoying when they block it. Let's take a look here. I think your Queens are slightly delayed as well. Let's check this opening. Second by second. So this, you normally go 18 gas, 17 pool, right?
17, 18, 17, yep.
Cool. Focus should be Queens, not Ling speed. Ling speed's not important. So yeah, you go Ling speed before Queens. Doesn't delay you by a long time. Let's see. We should be like hammering that Queen key. Even just those couple seconds. Slight annoyance allows the Reaper to be a bit more annoying. If you want to go the really early 3rd, you can delay your Ling speed if you want. But realistically, let's just hide that drone and don't put it down until about 28, 29 supply at the earliest. Let's just say 31. And if they deny it with a Reaper, no big deal, that's fine. We don't even need to hide the drone there necessarily. But if you choose to hide the drone there, just, yeah, make sure we're droning, because getting these drones out is so much more important than getting that hatch down. And you can always send this Queen. It can put down a creep tumor, and then you can just A-move it over to your 3rd base. And even though it delays your 3rd by a little bit, it'll clear it up. You can build the extractor or send a drone over, then it'll be totally fine. So I want you to choose. Do you want to hide the drone and hope they don't go over there to block the hatch going down about 2 minutes 45, 2 minutes 50? Or do you want to just send a drone over kind of with the Queen and if they're blocking it? Okay. All right, so let's not do that. Not send the drone early. We'll have a few more drones. We're going to go straight for the 3rd Queen. Not only that, we also want to say, what does that Queen do? I'm adding it in here. It's inject first, then creep tumor. Or the other way around. Which one do you prefer? You're used to the creep tumor. Let's go creep tumor. Actually, Stick to the way you normally do it. Your third queen can start injecting when it comes out.
Okay.
Becomes injecting.
But then would
queen.
that be like third queen start right as that queen in the natural is done?
Nope. As it says in the list in your document there, it's after the third base goes down.
Yeah,
no,
right.
So it's third base, then it's not a big delay though. Check it out, right? Because if we'd been building those drones a little bit earlier, we weren't quite as focused on the link speed necessarily. Actually, that's another thing. Since you started link speed straight away, you're taking your gas too early, aren't you? You're taking your gas right on a minute, I bet. Yeah, okay. You can delay that gas till about 1:10. You get a few more minerals here. You'll also notice, if you look at your drone line in your main, you haven't doubled up your workers. So you've got, your workers here have got a cushy union job. There's 3 of them on a middle mineral patch, and they're having a smoke break every 15 minutes. You want to be a real capitalist, like, abuser of the working man. We want 2 workers stacked on those closer mineral patches. We want 2 workers on each patch. They eventually sort themselves out at 1:30, but we actually lose quite a bit of mining time for that. So, yeah, little things add up. 1:10 to 1:15 is fine for your gas geyser, and double up workers. Oof, these tiny details are actually going to add good little bits of minerals, and this opening being just ironed out is so good for your ZvT, man. Such a momentum-based matchup. Awesome. So that's it. There's a few little structural changes, and that's what we're going to focus on in the next game. The main other thing I want to point out here is your overlord positioning. Now, I love that we've got these overlords creating a ring of vision. However, 2 things. Number 1, let's try to not send 2 overlords across the map, because they're going Viking first, and a lot of people will do that, right? Do you come up against a Viking pretty often on the ladder?
Yes.
Yeah, let's just send 1 overlord over. Do you scout with an overlord normally?
Yes. Typically, I did it a little late in this game. I usually I shoot between like 330 and 340 just to see what the what's attached to the tech lab, or if there's a tech lab.
And hopefully see an armory or a fusion core going down as well, yeah.
Yeah.
If we get the pleasure of that. Yeah, this second overlord doesn't help us out much on the other side of the map, and it's just better to have that vision up at home a bit earlier, and it just kind of minimizes the Viking. Because this Viking there's fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger was inside, Chuck Norris was on one wing, and I don't know, some other Bruce Lee's on the other wing or something. Because that Viking kills like 7 overlords this game. Like, it was actually insane how much damage it did. So this overlord vision, we like having a ring, but make sure you're on everyone's camera if you're not already. We want them a little bit further back. So often the overlords start a little bit further back, right? But then as our creep pushes out, they'll edge out. So maybe at the maximum, it would be... Can you see the signal?
I cannot.
Neither can I. Fucking video game. God damn it. Alright, see where the Hellions are? Just above that orange hit point Hellion would be one.
Okay.
The other one on the pillar down to the left, we'd have it like, I don't know, 1/3 of a screen to the right, like about as far as a Marine or a Hydra could shoot to the right. Just because these are... That way, if a Viking starts shooting it, you can pull it back and your queens can run over and kill the Viking very easily if they're not paying close attention. You can transfuse it. It's this like line where you're like, I've got good vision, but they're not going to go and do a route like this Viking did and kill 7 overlords. So those 2 overlords are great. You also need an overlord above your third. Now notice your overlord above your third. Check it.
Yep.
Bit too close in, doesn't give you a lot of vision. So maybe early on it could have been there, but it should be up north of that pillar, just up to the left of where the queens are, because we need earlier vision of where the Hellions are, right? Because otherwise, this is all about, we see the Hellions go one way, our queens move back to the other side. We see them start going the other way, we move them back, and it just gives us as much warning as possible, because the moment queens aren't able to rotate and be in the right position, we end up having trouble. So that overlord vision was pretty good this game. Real tiny adjustment, that overlord on the north being up a bit more, the other one's being slightly back so the Viking doesn't abuse us, and not sending 2 overlords across the map because there was a good chance the Viking would have caught this overlord out front his third as well. He barely missed it. So these little things will just mean, okay, cool, the vision's a little bit more complete, we'll have a bit more warning. Other than that, what's the trigger for you to start non-stop building queens? You started non-stop building extra queens at a certain point in this game, about 3 minutes 35 or so. Was there a trigger, or is this kind of instinctive and you're not really sure what sets it off?
I felt like I just feel like I didn't have enough, and I have a tendency. I've done that with overlords too, and it's a bad habit where it's like, oh, I'm supply block. Let's just build 7 overlords, and you don't need to. You just, yeah, it felt instinctive. I can't say why, but I just felt like I didn't have enough.
Okay, so we're gonna start non-stop queen production to 8+ queens. Let's say 8 to 10 queens. Your preference. If the game's really chaotic, there's battle cruisers running around. Fine with you going 10, 11 queens. If the game's pretty chill, they do some light Hellion lib pressure, you're shutting it down, you're on top of it. No need to keep building queens, right? Later on, like once we'd rather build better units, right? We don't want to actually have like 8 queens spreading creep or something ridiculous. So what's a good marker? 2 base saturation, which should be about 44 supply. What's a game timer for that? I'm gonna give you all three markers. 345. Now 345 is aspirational. That's assuming you've droned really well and your opening's really tight. We're changing your opening a bit. We're not going to get there. So the idea is basically we've got guys back on gas. Normally goes back on what, about 3 minutes 30, 3 minutes 40, somewhere around here, yeah?
Is that timed out with like speed finishing up, ling speed?
No, I mean, usually it's somewhat similar to it, but it's just kind of like, yeah, around this time as you're getting saturated on 2 bases, like just choose a game timer is the way most people do it. How do you do it? Because I feel like you didn't put back on for a long time in this game, but I think it's because the Hellions were distracting you.
Yeah, I usually try and time it with speed finishing up, and I was distracted with the Hellions that I missed the notification.
No worries. Yeah, I think that's a better one is 2 base saturation. Notice you never finish saturating your natural. So there's normally this really, especially with this kind of small changes, you're going to have more workers early, right? Even though we have the earlier 3rd queen, we're actually going to have more workers. So you're going to hit about 345 or so, 340, 4 minutes at the latest. You're going to be like, cool, 16 on minerals, we got the 3 on gas, and you might only have 12 workers at this point, but like, you know, the last ones are rallying to this base, and you're kind of at this point where you're like, okay, cool, let's change all the rally points to the 3rd, put guys, and start a queen on the main, queen on the natural, and as soon as the 3rd finishes, we can start a queen there as well, and we're kind of, you know, getting this queen count growing. We also don't want to build like 100 creep tumors, right? Because then we have no transfuse. So we just want to make like 3, 4 creep tumors, you know, 2, you know, some towards the middle, 1 in front of the 3rd, on some maps 1 in the main base to connect it to the natural as well. Just don't be one of those players who's like, cool, it's 4 minutes 30, I'm gonna spend every bit of energy on 12 creep tumors, and then the Hellbats come in and you're like, yeah, that's, queens aren't good if they don't have transfuse ready. So definitely if we're relying on queens for the defense, that's going to be key. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so these are some great details that we're going super deep on just because I'm like, oh, okay, I want to kind of understand what you're doing, what your structure is. We're not going to be able to focus on all this consciously in our next game. But let's talk a bit about mech. Does that Joy's mech?
He's pretty good at mech. But that's something that when we play a lot, that's something that we focus on because it's probably my weakest matchup.
Cool. So I kind of was like, go Roach Hydra Viper. And I'm not sure how much experience you have with that. What's your normal reaction against mech?
I can't say I really have a good one. I usually try and go into Roach Hydra. The Vipers are what I don't use very often, and it's something that I know that I need to get up to.
Cool. You can play Swarm Hosts. You can play Hydra Bane Swarm Host. Technically, you can play Hydra Bane Viper, though I've never been the biggest fan of it. It can be a very powerful composition. I love Hydra Bane Swarm Host personally, but it's a super advanced composition. I think it's like unbeatable if the Zerg plays it correctly. I don't think most Zergs should play it. I think Roach Hydra Viper is the easiest to kind of get a handle on initially, and then going into a Broodlord timing attack after that. So I think we'll stick with that here as the sort of adjustment. So basically, you do not need to go Roaches just against Hellions. But if you're at 6 minutes and you still see masses of Hellions running around, or you see some sign that they're mech, that's when we're going to go, okay, let's get a Roach Warren.
A new queen has emerged.
We're going to go Roach Hydra Viper. Infestation Pit ASAP. And what do we do? What's really important is Infestation Pit immediately, straight into Hive, straight into Vipers. And we want as little downtime between each of those as possible, right? Okay. So we want our 4th base gas as soon as possible. And we want to split 5 roaches to cover our exposed base. Our exposed base / flank. So if your army's hanging out on the north side of this map, at your 3rd, Those 5 roaches should be down the bottom at your 4th, right? And that's kind of the structure you have, where it's like main army's kind of usually on one side of the map covering that. That little defense squad of 5 roaches that's going to shut down Hellion counters, that's on the opposite side of the map. Now, if they get in, they still kill 10 drones. It's not the end of the world. You can replace those. The problem is if you don't have any roaches there in time, we know that can very quickly become 30 drones dead. You know, there was multiple moments in this game where we were moving our whole army around, and I was like, if 4 Hellions come in at the right time, like, this is just all over for us. Like, so much damage could go down. So splitting those roaches up is like a structural part of our play. Every game against mech is huge. We can have overlords out there watching for Hellion run-bys as well, that sort of stuff. That's cool. It's not really that important. Basically, the way we're going to conceive of this is 2 attacks. There are 2 times where we break down the mech player. First one with somewhere between 3 and 6 Vipers, depending on how much gas you happen to have spare when you got to Hive. And what are we doing with that? Mass abduct, high-value targets, send Overseer in ahead of army, and basically your army's just behind your Vipers when you do that. And you just abduct a bunch of tanks and Thors, kill them all, and then you run away. No matter what's happening, you never start a step forwards against mech. And unless you have absolute confidence you've got everything covered in Blinding Clouds, and the fact that you're going to kill most of it before Blinding Cloud runs out. Because every time you move forwards, your units will clump up. So I'm going to go past this whole phase, because you clearly were a bit confused about what your unit comp was. You were kind of going queens, then lings, then roaches. So let's just ignore this whole part, because that's not going to happen. We're going to be a lot more decisive and just going roaches, right? Next time, when we know it's mech, we're not going to keep building zerglings. I want to go up to that big fight later on. We'll get there soon. So basically what happened is you stutter stepped like into the tanks, and the tank splash was just absolutely chaotic, where if we just abducted all the tanks and Thors at the edge, killed them, pulled back, and then gone in again with Broodlords, we can rinse and repeat if Broodlords aren't ready. Basically, you get more energy, right? Each time you do that, you go get more energy, do it again. And you can even build Evo chambers to suck energy from. And then we're hit with 8 Broodlords and all our queens underneath transfusing. And that's where we can abduct Thors / Vikings, right? We abduct the anti-air, and we rally Corruptors just to have bonus anti-air / shit absorbing stuff, right? Broodlords are a huge problem for most mech players. So let's go back and look at that fight real quick. And then we can open to some more games.
That massacre, I think you meant.
That indeed is probably a more accurate way of describing it. Where do you think at this stage of the game, if we're going Roach Hydra Viper and then we're going to go into Bruise Bind, what do you think your work account would be ideally in this sort of position you're in at this point in the replay?
80.
Yeah, sounds about right. Most importantly, we need the gases on the 4th and probably heading towards gases on the 5th as well. Vipers, Hydras, Broodlords, all very gas intensive. And that does allow us to once we bank up money like this off that sort of drone count, we could start putting down spines and spores, kind of spread around our exposed expansions as well, right? Mostly just 1 spore behind the mineral line to stop libs, and a few spines spread around so that they can deal with small Hellion and Hellbat counters. You'll still lose workers, but that's fine. We can, replace workers. Because we're only at 63, we were, definitely a little bit short on that ability to replenish, but our opponent's already at 170 supply with a lot of Thors out, so we're like a little bit slow getting to this point, and so on. So, when you go in here, you can actually scout with your Vipers if you want. Like, you don't have to send in the Overseer, but the Overseer is like an easy way just to get an idea of where the army is. Problem here with your positioning is, like, you have no idea of what's on that cliff to the left. There could be 5, 6 siege tanks right on that ledge, and you're going to move right into their range. Luckily for you, there's only 2 siege tanks there. But this could have been a lot more punishing for you. The way you came in on this angle was not well thought out. We should have been moving further north and then coming in from where that barracks is, right? That sort of area.
Got it, yeah.
Where there's no weird flank that can get us. Not just that, the Vipers are meant to be in front of the army. So you were about to commit here, and my jaw dropped, and I was like, no! And then you turned around, and I was like, thank God. I was like, phew. But then we still didn't... We kind of had the Roach Hydra just in front. So you want the Vipers, usually as you engage, to be just slightly in front of your army, right? So the idea is the Roach Ravager Hydra, they got range, right? If we're going to abduct to where those Ravagers are right now, getting shot, which you could absolutely be doing, the Ravagers and the Hydras could actually be further back, right? they've got attack range. So they could be just slightly behind. So normally it's like you kind of have the units there, you A-move the ground army, your Viper's already a little bit in front, and you micro the Vipers forward, and you just start spamming those abducts. So I want you to think of these as just abductors. Don't be trying to decision make in the heat of the moment and go, oh, do I Blinding Cloud? Do I abduct? Do I Parasitic Bomb? No. Just abductors. That's all you're allowed to use them for. And that forces you to get better with the micro on these Vipers, right? You're simplifying the scenario for yourself. And you're also taking an engagement where you're saying, I'm going to pick off a few units, kill those, withdraw. It puts you in the mindset of let's take an efficient fight rather than let's headbutt. Because all it takes is an extra 3 or 4 tanks in the back. And especially if we start a step forward, as you're about to do here, notice how clumped those units are. Every time you move forward, those units clump more and more, and the siege tanks, Christmas comes early. I do love the simulant death graphics. Do you have the physics turned on?
Yes.
Oh, it's so good, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry to take glory in your army's death, but the simulant skins just look so sick when they get blown up, dude.
No, it's fine. Beautiful. I get it. I'll take one for the team. My ego can handle it.
I mean, to be real, it doesn't even count as a Zerg loss, since these are technically Terran bots that are built for training exercises. That's the lore behind it. So
I wish Blizzard's ladder mechanics felt that way too.
All right, so yeah, basically imagine we pick off, we lose some Hydras and Roaches, like 20, 30 supplier, we kill like 40 supplier mech, we just go back, get more energy. Oh, sick, yeah. Great Aspire was already on the way while we were pushing there, right? And we're making Corruptors, we're making Broodlords, pulling our Queens over, and we're going again. And we kind of poke in with the Broodlords and do some good shit. And I'm sure your Broodlord micro can be worked on. Nah, let's hop out of that replay. It doesn't really matter. It's not important. Just getting there from a better position will make our life way more awesome. So, we talked about many different things. These are things that will take you time to develop and put into your play. I'm gonna make you the leader again. Host up another game. Let's hop into another game, and I'm gonna try and just get you focused on the opening. I'll try to talk you through the later mech transition and stuff a little bit and remind you of a few key points. But let's just while we're still on mech, before I talk about the opening again, what are the 2 attacks off the top of your head that you're gonna make happen to try and take down the mech player?
Does that include defense or is it just offense?
I just mean offense. I mean like those big pushes in the late game. What are the 2 big timing attacks where you move across the map and try to take them down?
Well, one of them is the end game where you have Broodlords along with your ground army.
Yep.
I'm not sure the composition of the first one.
First one's just
unless it's going to be
just the Roach Hydra Viper.
Hydra.
Yeah,
okay.
It's just the Viper
Vipers.
where if you catch them out enough, like a lot of the time, if your Vipers are on time, you pull like 8 siege tanks in, and they've got 9 siege tanks and 2 Thors in their army. Those tanks die instantly, and you just kill them and you win the game. Like that's actually very common for me to just win after getting the first trade of the Vipers. My opponent just leaves because I've just annihilated their entire mech army. They've taken so long to build up, right? If not, we're picking off units and then pulling back and then hitting with the Broodlords, right? So those are the 2 attacks. We've got Vipers, time to attack, and we've got Broodlords, time to attack. There may be other opportunities throughout the game, right? That game we did this weird Desperate Ravager counterattack. Zatch was being a greedy boy, couldn't really stop it. That's cool. That's totally cool. We did some damage, but most importantly, it's like these real mid to late game ways of taking down the mech player. These are the reliable things we can always learn. So, whenever you're ready, let's dive into this next map and let's just focus on the opening difference. I'll talk you through the opening differences a little bit. To start out, we're not going to send a drone to our third. We're going to take our first gas a little bit later. We're going to focus on doubling up our workers here in the early game. So I'll talk you through this opening, and hopefully we'll get it down nice and clean. Let's do it. Awesome, man. So first up is our gas doesn't go down till about a minute 10, a minute 15, right? 17 hatch, 18 gas, 17 pool. We sit on 18 supply for a few seconds, and we're actually going to use our 17th drone as it pops out to take the gas, and the 18th one as it pops out to take the minerals, the spawning pool, sorry. That way, we've always got 16 drones on minerals. So that's the whole point here, is we never drop below 16 on minerals, and we're going to double those up nicely. Max out on roaches and everything should be alright. How far can that take you? Pretty far, dude. If you learn how to use those roaches well, pretty far. Also start attacking before you're maxed. When you're at like 140, 150 supply, you should already be looking for opportunities to do damage if you can. You want to push it a bit later, 170, 180, but don't wait till you're maxed to move out. Common mistake people who are learning macro make.
Oh, turn my skins off. Huh.
Really? It's showing up for me. Never mind.
That's weird. Oh, I have game hard on. That's right.
Ah, okay. No worries.
Okay.
So you're rallying these drones to the gas. Rally them both to the gas, the eggs. Yeah. So that's going to be the gas geyser, and the other one's the spawning pool.
Okay.
Yeah. You see how this times out real nice?
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
And now the next 3 drones, so start building drones, they're all rallied onto your gas. So you should already be rallying those eggs. Not the hatchery mineral.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. And the third drone, build it up in a sec. Yeah, there we go. So you rally those eggs, and you can already set your rally points onto your natural at this point. Because you're going to have 16 on minerals, 3 on gas. Beautiful. Build an overlord. Awesome. So we're going to have link speed slightly later. That's fine. We're focusing on queens. Should be great. Hunter, thank you very much. Appreciate the support, dude. All right, yep, build another drone. We always want to build 20th drone. And then we're going to build 4 lings and our 2 queens. If you like your queens being synced up, it's okay to delay them if you really like that. It's not a big deal either way. If you want to build 6 lings, that's totally fine as well. So we want to, yep, just get this going. Keep droning, keep droning. Start ling speed, pull off gas. Beautiful. You're doing a good job.
New queen has emerged.
Inject.
Yep, beautiful. All right.
And then walk it to the 3rd?
Yep, move it to your 3rd. And let's try and start a 3rd queen immediately and start droning. Let's get that queen started. Okay, cool. We did start that queen in the main. Better to start in the natural. Not a big deal, though. And thankfully, we got that 3rd down pretty easily. Keep Overlord always wants to go down after the queen as well. And keep droning, droning, droning. And of course, we will put down a creep tumor at 25 energy, but your lings need to keep your creep tumor safe from being sniped. So when this queen pops out in the main, we need to send her to the natural and get her injecting ASAP.
A new queen has emerged.
Keep droning. Good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. Okay, let's put guys back on gas.
Complete.
It's about 3 minutes 40. Beautiful. Make sure we replace the drones on minerals in the main as well. And now that we're saturated, we're 45 supply, 3 minutes 45. This is when we start queen production. So from here, it's non-stop queens. So as our 3rd finishes, it'll start queens as well. And this is good stuff.
Your drones are under attack.
Just keep building. So we want to build about 8 zerglings. We bled off a few too many lings early on here, but that's fine. And we want to just start droning that 3rd. Everything should be rallied to that 3rd. Main and natural saturated beautifully. Make sure you control group those queens. The same way you normally do. Beautiful. Yep. Alright. So build extra overlords, and we want them on the edges of your base to watch for liberators coming in. And air units like banshees. So this is something you want to get in the habit of. And your lings can come forward. If they ever engage you on creep like that, lings can kind of just chase them off. Good stuff. Keep building queens, keep injecting, keep droning. Now we're playing a Hellion opening, so we want to build a spore in each base at 4 minutes 30. Now if they're ever really fighting you, you can always pull your injecting queens over as well and just let the queens that are going to pop out replace them to buffer up your defense. But let's move these Overlord on the south out a little bit so we've got more warning. We need to see these Hellions ahead of time, and we need to be droning that 3rd like crazy. More Overlords, more drones. Where are those Spore Crawlers? They should have been down at 4:30. Let's go. 1 Spore in each base. Get the Queens up to that 3rd, and get those Lings behind the hatch. We need a few more Zerglings.
Your forces are under attack.
So you always want to have about 12 to 14 Lings ready, just as a net to stop the Hellions if they run past. This is what I'm talking about with the Overlords being further back, by the way. Nice. Okay, keep spreading creep, keep droning, and start your transition up to lair, evo chambers, overlords, all the good shit. Lots and lots of overlords, by the way, right now.
A new queen has
First time you're talking someone through a build, they're gonna fuck it up, guys. Big surprise here. On the scale of fucking it up, though, he's actually doing really well. Playing at someone of an even level, first time trying a new opening, me whispering in his ear, this is not easy stuff. He did a really good job. So I'm really proud of how he's just stabilizing here, and I'm letting him just find his own rhythm now. Bit too much talking before, don't want to just keep cramming information in his ears.
Hey, your base is under attack.
It's a trap.
We need to get the impulse of, yeah, moving that Spork will do that. But your queens, yeah, need to impulsively respond to those Hellions. Get those transfuses down. And respread that creep. So whenever you see those Hellions coming in, we want to be, you know, just moving the queens over there. Get those drones back to mining on the 3rd. Let's get the gases back down, all this stuff. You can build a few extra queens here since we've been bleeding them out. So he's way over microing this and being way too aggressive. He's undoubtedly fucking up his macro behind this. But we're letting him get damage. That's fine, as long as we don't let him throw off our priorities. We should have a list in the back of our head. We should be like, you know, taking the tech, the upgrades, the gases. Let's go get the tech. We've got 1600 minerals. Drop 2 macro hatches and a 4th base. Just keep doing this shit. And get these, you know, keep pushing your vision back out, your overlords back out. Wherever you see the Hellions go, just A-move your queens there, and then go back to your macro. A-move your queens to where the Hellions are, go back to your macro. Try to find this rhythm within the chaos, because the way this works out for him is if he throws you off your element. If we can just find a way to keep refocusing ourselves, we will always come out ahead when an opponent micros their harassment this hard. Once again, this is a transfuse, unfortunately. Never replace the Overlord here, which is just huge, because he's not able to see where these units are coming from. And Zatch is playing a real weird sort of style. Alright, we've seen non-stop Hellions, so we can assume it's mech. Let's go Roach Warren, Hydroden, Infestation Pit. Keep holding down that drone key. Take all the gases. And we're going to start kind of gearing up and just continuing forward in this game. Keep spreading creep. Keep going forwards. Keep taking gases on that 3rd. If we can spend this money, overlords, drones, overlords, spend all that lava. We've got so much money. So many lava just sitting there. We can get on top of this game. So yeah, guys, he's just kind of freezing up under the pressure a little bit. Another mistransfuse there, which is unfortunate. He should kill all those Hellions though. Oh, he should just move the lings. He should spread them, but Roach Warren's done. Build a round of roaches and then go straight back to drones. We've still got so much money. We can just take a deep breath and focus ourselves. Keep injecting those hatcheries. You've got so many macro hatcheries. You can bounce back from this and come out way ahead. Remember what I said? He is constantly over microing this stuff. He is not macroing at all right now. You will deal with this. Just keep taking more bases. Keep putting your guys on gas. I want you to find your rhythm. Stop letting him dictate your actions. Focus on what you're doing in the game. Keep doing that well, and you will win this game.
A new queen has emerged.
Adapt says that's why you get a Baneling Nest at 4 minutes? No, that's why you micro your queens properly. He's just not used to microing his queens properly, so he's constantly been slow at moving his queens from side to side. And he needs to have a reaction list where if the opponent's being quite aggressive with their Hellions, they've got a lot of Hellions early, like his opponent did, pull extra queens to the front. He was very slow at starting his extra queens because it's the first time trying the opening, and he didn't get the queens to the front. So he lost a queen very early. He then lost 2 more queens due to mistransfuses. That's what adds up. So this is nothing to do with not having Banelings or Roach Warren. If you have a tight opening, and as you get towards Masters League, which this is close to, you don't want to be building those and building a billion queens. There are a lot of Masters and GM players who prefer to play Banelings or Roaches, but most of the best ones are capable of defending with just Lings and Queens, and it's about doing that right. So you've got to add up all the little things which put his queen count lower than it should have been earlier on. And that was the big problem. That's a bad spine position, by the way, guys. That's not how you position your spines.
Out of minerals, idle workers are so unhelpful.
That's not how you position that. You want to have your spines, like, I would go like spine, 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 or something like that, because you want to be able to cover behind the mineral line. So that's something we want to kind of write a note of. So I'm gonna write down a few little reaction lists here. Game 2. Okay. Spines need to be placed in a spread in and around mineral line, not in front of hatch. Hellions kept sitting behind hatchery and ruining you.
Your forces are under attack.
Yeah, I mean, he's struggling just to spend his money constantly throughout this game because he's been on the back foot and his opponent's just been kind of abusing him. That's totally fine. Reaction. If your opponent is non-stop Hellions this fast, rare at your MMR for a player to be so aggressive, but Zatch loves it, you need to react. Pull queens to the front immediately. Even injecting queens. The queens in production will replace them. Keep your queens in position, supporting each other, and you will shut down these Hellion Reaper aggro trades. Does he have an infestation? Why is he building Lings right now? That makes no sense. Remember, just Roach Hydra. Finally, that hive's on the way. Yep, keep respreading creep. You have a sick work account. Take bases on the north and the bottom side. And make sure you build extra spores. Your opponent's shown he likes harassing. There should be 2 spores behind each mineral line. And remember, behind the mineral line. They're covering libs. They're not covering banshees or anything else. Also, spine crawlers need to be in your mineral lines, not behind them.
You're under attack. Siege up.
So just keep massing hydras here. You've still got a good drone count, so that's fine. You're going to put your workers back on mining. And yeah, let's make 2-2 upgrades. Move your army up to that north side so we can deal with that lib and those Hellions. Spore Crawler on the south can deal with it. All right. He's being as annoying as he possibly can by queuing up harassing units, but that's fine. If we just get these units in position, they should be good. So let's put these workers back on mining. And let's build 400 Hydralisks. aka about 20 Hydras and Roaches, and then make some Vipers. Back on mining. Once you lose momentum, like his opponent's done this thing where he didn't have defense set up. Like right now, he's like not really respecting a counterattack. He is a bit more now. I bet earlier if I actually looked at his camera rather than just Rushi's, I would have seen like lots of openings. But yeah, if he didn't lose queens earlier, losing early queens spirals because your transfuses are disappearing. Keeping queens alive spirals into an unstoppable wall. Because you get unlimited tumors and transfuse. So that's the big difference in the early game here. It's what allowed his opponent to kind of spiral out of control. Where are the Vipers? He's got 5 of them. Has he told them to suck energy? He has.
Your forces are taking damage.
Just remember to make a Spire and max out on Hydras here. So we need that Spire so we can go into the Broodlords after, okay? So remember, we're going to queue up +1 melee. So just queue that up so that helps out the Broodlords later. Melee upgrades are super key for that. And when you're ready, let's push across this map. For now, 2 Liberators on the south side, so let's deal with them quickly. And keep building spores behind these bases and so on. And get ready for your push.
A new queen has emerged. Mineral field depleted.
So why wouldn't you move your army down here? He's kind of set on queens defend libs, but it's like, we have an army of Hydras and Vipers. What else? So where are those Vipers at? They just chilling?
I guess I didn't mean to pull them that far.
All hands to battle stations.
Let's see what he's up to. Get those Vipers up front.
Warriors have engaged the enemy.
Let's go start picking off units. We've got Greater Spire will be starting up very soon, so we want to keep an eye on that. Let's not get distracted. We want to go and we want to practice that abduct micro. So remember, let's go find where his army is, have the Vipers just in front. We're going to pick off what we can. In the meantime, we are going to have the Greater Spire on the south side. And don't worry about those Hellbats. Just ignore them. You've got spines at the next base. You can build more spines and more spores and whatnot if you want, but let's just focus on the engagement micro on the front. So try and coordinate this Hydra Viper attack. I think he was making layers because they were both heavily damaged. So he was almost dead. Okay, that one was a misclick. This one actually made sense because it gives it extra hit points. Okay, abducts. He's got to A-move his ground army. Where's the abducts? What's he doing? You don't need to be afraid of one dude. Just get the Vipers in front, A-move the ground army, spam abducts.
Hey, your base is under attack.
See that?
Oh.
That's alright. Let's just keep practicing the Viper micro for now. So okay. we could have kept abducting there. We still got tons of energy. Get those Vipers in and spam those abducts. Once they're out of energy, pull back. Pull back. Good. Pull back Vipers as well. Get them out of there. So normally we can do that in one wave once we're comfortable. Keep almost all the Vipers alive, and then go into Broodlords. Now obviously Zatch is having a lot of fun doing as many annoying moves as possible this game, trying to send us to Tiltsville. Let's try and take gases.
He's good at that.
Yeah, we can try and take gases on the expansions and kind of play this out, but it's going to be a long one either way. So I'm going to pause the game real quick because we're out of time. We already went a little bit over time, but I was having fun, so I do not mind. That's all good.
I appreciate it.
You guys should keep playing this game, and I want you to just play only Roach Hydra Viper and practice the abduct micro, okay? And you should do this for a week. Every game against mech, doesn't matter if you win or lose, just Roach Hydra Viper, abduct as many units, go get more energy, abduct units. So because you're doing that, you can go as high as like 10 Vipers, right? You can just go crazy on the Vipers, right? Is this necessarily the most efficient way to play? No, I can beat most people, even like top 20 GMs by doing that though. Just going mass Roach Hydra Viper, right? And this is practice. This is the best practice for you, okay?
Yeah.
I gotta go, but great game. Don't leave. You guys keep playing in a sec. All right, so there's a lot of notes. What happened in this game, just to summarize it for you, though it's all in the notes, and you can watch the VOD as well if you want, is at the start, he non-stop builds Hellions. He's very tight on his opening. His factory lands immediately. He starts Hellions immediately. His next two Hellions are starting immediately. His next two Hellions immediately. They're in your face. He's using Reaper grenades well. His Reaper's up front to tank. He's using the Reaper combat drugs, and he's picking off your queen or two. Whenever you're playing someone who's kind of in your face very early with their first two, their first four, their first six Hellions, you just react against a gas first player. So you would probably just do this every game against Zatch because you know you're playing Zatch. You will just grab your first two queens, they'll drop injects and come to the front. Even though your next queens aren't ready, you'll just add them into your control group so that we can have 3 queens at the front really early. They come up with 4 Hellions, and you got 3 queens on the high ground just getting free damage. They get punished very quickly. You get transfuses ready very quickly. You lose a tiny bit of inject time, but more queens pop out soon. They inject, and guess what? They can come to the front and join your army if you're still under a lot of pressure as well. And the next queens that pop, because it takes a similar time for a queen to build as it does for an inject to finish. So you can kind of be like, cool, it's fine. The next queens, as long as we're non-stop building queens, the next queens will do the round of injects and keep those going, and that kind of keeps the whole thing awesome. That spiraled out of control because Zatch was like so in your face with his Hellions. I'm like, oh my god, his macro, like the thing is, if you can, it's good practice because it's so pointedly good at what he does there. But he's mismacroing very badly behind this because he's so focused on like sending you to Tiltsville. Like there's like this this effect where he's like, I'm gonna jump in the dumpster and I'm gonna drag you with me. Like he just turns the game to a shit show, and it's a good way to play because there's so many moments where I'm kind of going, stop letting him disrupt your priorities. Just move the queens, build like as long as if you could keep spending your money smoothly and somehow mentally ignore the chaos that he's throwing you through, you'd actually end up ahead because he's mismacroing quite poorly as well. But it's like, it's great to watch because it's like, I'm watching this and I'm like, shit, man, these Hellions are fast. They're being microed. It gives you this feeling as the Zerg who doesn't know about the bank and the factories not being on time and the orbital sitting there for 2 minutes not getting transformed. You don't know that as the Zerg player, so you get this feeling of, am I playing Gumiho or Innovation? Like, what the fuck is going on in this game? Because these Hellions are just so in your face and the Vikings clearing up that Overlord vision, which I was talking about. We did get the Viking that game. He's such a dickhead. He built another Viking. Yeah, what a legend. Absolute legend. And I'm like, because this Overlord in front of your third base is what ruined you. He got rid of this third Overlord, and those Hellions would rock up at your third mineral line and like kill all this shit before you could react. And I was just like, man, this is so frustrating to play against. So this is the first time of me talking you through the build. You're not meant to play it well. You would by no means meant to win this game. Hats off to you for playing so well. Just try to be real methodical with learning that opening as your first step with the homework. And the next step is grind a bunch of games versus Zatch, getting that Viper micro down, and just kind of like getting the transition into the very fast hive down. What you'll find as you get better at this, early on, your Vipers are always going to be late, and they're just not going to get to the front, and you're going to push, and your opponent's always maxed every game. When you get better, you're going to have this magical moment where you start, you deflect the early pressure, immediately get the infestation, Hydra Den around the same time, straight to hive, straight to Vipers. You go across the map with 4 Vipers, each with like 2 Abducts, and your opponent's at like 130 supply, and you're like, abduct all his important units, and you've got energy left over, and you're like, oh, I guess I'll grab that Viking in as well. I guess he's got nothing to defend his third, and you just win the game, and you're like, oh, okay, like, you know, if I can link together all these different stages of execution, playing against mech suddenly is not that hard. Shout out to Zatch in chat. He says, you noticed my second Viking, smiley face. Great play from both of you, though. That was awesome, dude. So lots of notes to work on. Watch the replays. And remember, even if you're struggling, you guys play a few more games. After you have a night's rest, a lot of that shit sinks in, right? So it's like sometimes, like you might even tomorrow still be really struggling with it. As long as you don't get too frustrated and you're like, no, I know when I wake up one day, it'll just feel more natural. That's this weird thing where your brain actually rehearses stuff while you're sleeping. And that's where a lot of the very kind of mechanical connections that are needed for StarCraft kind of fall into place. So be patient with it, and looking at your mechanics and stuff, I think you'll naturally kick ass.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate that.
Awesome, man.
I'm a teacher by trade, so I'm a band teacher. So I'm really like, I'm loving the positive like teaching vibe you've got going. It's very inspirational. Like I'm gonna pick up some of the things the way you said them. I can use it in my teaching. So I appreciate it, dude. This is really cool.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot. Well, good luck with your Viper practice there against a Terran who's got 7,000 minerals in the bank. Don't expect to win. Just look for some good trades, okay? Good luck with the Vipers, man. And maybe I'll see you in chat. Maybe we'll do coaching another time.
Yeah. I might hit you up in the future. This was a lot of fun.
Awesome, man.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Have a good night, dude.
Yep, you too. See ya.
Laters. That was a fun one, guys. Band teaches the best.